Cassava remains one of the staples of Ghanaians. As such, cultivating and finding new varieties is key to the sustenance of many people in this country. Watch this episode of Agri-Connect as we link you to new varieties that have been developed and nutritional, beneficial to the growth of many Ghanaians. My name is Nana Ismabasam, and keep watching Agri-Connect. Yeah, welcome to Agri-Connect.
Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
All right, so I'm Aaron Akuka,
Okay.
M4 student at the University of Cape Coast.
Now, I would want you to take us through the state of cassava farming in this country. You realize that cassava is something that we consume in different forms in this country.
Sure.
Yes. So, what is the state of cassava farming in this country?
Yes, so Ghana is now one of the leading producers of cassava in Africa.
Okay.
I think after Nigeria. Yes, and cassava used to be a staple food, but now cassava is, I won't say cassava is a staple food.
Okay.
Cassava is an industrial crop.
Okay.
Because in the olden days, you knew cassava for gari, fufu, and then probably kokonte. But now cassava is used for so many things: tapioca, starch, beer, for medicines, for other industrial purposes. So now cassava is now one of the cash crops in Ghana.
Okay.
Yes. I would say people are going into processing, others are doing the production and etc. Yes. So Ghana is cassava. And we are developing so many varieties now in Ghana.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah, an interesting part that we should get to. What are some of the varieties? You know, we use it traditionally for either the ampesi, either for kondo, for starch, gari, fufu. You know, what are some of the varieties that we have, and what are the purposes?
Yeah. So for University of Cape Coast, for instance, I can speak emphatically on 4 varieties.
Okay.
Which is the Cape Vase, the Fufuhene, Ampesi Hema, and then the yellow flesh.
Ampesi Hema.
Yes.
Okay.
The Ampesi Hema is for both fufu and then for gari.
Okay.
And then for Ampesi because of the taste. And then the Fufuhene too is for fufu because of how sticky it is. Very good for fufu and gari. And they all the varieties I mentioned have good swellability. They swell very well. The taste is good. And then for commercial purposes, the yield is extremely perfect. Yes, so all these ones. But one interesting thing about the yellow flesh is that it has high amount of beta carotene beta carotene, which is good for the eyes, the skin and other purposes.
Okay.
So when you go to the market and people are doing gari, mixing colors, you don't need any color for this gari.
That's what I was thinking about. So you realize that along the coast, a lot of people produce yellow gari.
Exactly.
Sometimes people wonder what the contents is. Oh, okay.
So we have the cassava variety, which the tubers are yellow and it is used. So, you know, if you have lived in the village or people who like fufu, I'm not fufu enthusiast, but the people who like fufu, you realize that when they are pounding fufu, they add plantain.
Yeah.
So with this one, you don't need a plantain.
Because it's already yellow.
It's already yellow. It has all the nutrients that the plantain will supply. So you don't need to add up. So you are even reducing your cost of fufu production.
That's quite good, especially looking at the way we consume fufu.
Exactly.
Sure. All right, so now let's look at some of the best practices. You realize that cassava farming, as you said, has become an industrial crop.
Yes.
People are now going into it. There are so many channels of venturing into along the value chain. And this creates jobs. However, you realize that people from watching you might say, okay, now I think I can go into cassava farming. And then, what are some of the best practices that one should employ when it comes to cassava farming?
Yeah, so in cassava farming, you can either go by zero plowing or zero tillage. You can also do plowing. So either of the approaches works. But when they are doing the spacing, usually cassava is 1 meter by 1 meter because cassava spreads a lot. And then for you to get bigger tubers, you need to widen it up. But there are other countries. I know Brazil is using quite narrow spaced than Ghana. But because of research purpose and other things, our varieties have good canopy. So because of that, we do the wider spacing here. And another thing is people grow the cassava depending. So recently there have been challenges of cassava sticks. People who are now interested in doing cassava on commercial basis are not getting the cassava sticks to plant. That's the planting material. So if somebody wants to go into cassava production, the person can even consider doing only the cassava sticks and then selling it. I think Nigeria is the leading producer of cassava in Africa.
Yes.
I think they are one of the leading producers in the world. And some farmers are focusing on only the sticks production, and others are focusing on, people are even exporting the leaves.
The leaves?
Yes, because the leaves have crude protein of around, they have protein percentage of around 18%, 18 to 37%.
The leaves?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, which is also even a very good source of animal feed. Just that because of the, what's the name? The cyanide content in it, sometimes you need to dry it a bit so that you will not cause any problem to your animals. So for the UCC varieties, I'll tell you that it is one of the best varieties you can get in the market when it comes to fufu, when it comes to gari, when it comes to starch. UCC has it all. So in considering a cassava for commercial production, you can consider kivas, you can consider fufuhima, you can consider fufuhine, and then ampesihima, and you can consider the
interesting choice of names.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now let's look at how long they take to get ready for table. When it comes to farming, people look at when they can cash out. When can I cash out exactly? So if I'm venturing into cassava production for the conventional reason, how long does it take?
Cassava takes approximately 6 to 12 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it depends on the variety. From 6 months going, you can start harvesting. And if you take very good care of it at the initial stage by controlling your weed earlier, not allowing the weeds to overtake the plant, I think from your 6 months, you can begin to harvest your cassava.
Okay. All
yes.
Right. Now let's look at the seasonalities. Like most of our agri field, with the exception of vegetables, as you stated, what are some of the seasonalities that bounce cassava?
Yes. So every produce, the primary resources that you need is your land and water. If you have your land and water, you are good to go. Depending on your rainfall pattern or your source of water, cassava, when you plant it and you get enough water at the very first 4 months, the rest is not a problem. The crop can grow by itself. So cassava doesn't require much water, but at the initial first 4 months of growth, it needs enough rainfall or enough water or moisture content in the soil in order to thrive well. Yes.
Okay, so I've realized that yours fruits. I've been to a lot of farms, and I don't think I've seen
most cassava fruits. Just that you haven't given it an attention. You haven't paid attention to
really?
That. Yes.
Okay, so are the fruits beneficial for something? Or?
Yes, people. It is used for breeding purposes.
Breeding purposes. Breeding.
The seeds can be used for breeding.
Breeding cassava.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So when you go to, if you have been or lived in the village before, or you have been to the forest before, there are cassavas that you can uproot and realize that there is just one single tuber under it, and you see that it is tucked around the stem, just like that. Those emanate from seed.
Oh wow. Okay, so you can either use the seeds or
but it's not advisable to use the seed. These ones are purposely for breeding.
Breeding.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So now let's look at some of the. Let's say if I want to plant cassava, what are some of the techniques I should employ to ensure that it grows well?
Yeah. So in cassava production, you have to get your cassava sticks, and you have to cut your sticks in, at least you should get about 8 nodes.
8 nodes.
Yes, 8 nodes per stick. So when I'm talking about the nose, these are the nose. Upon at least also 8. But notwithstanding, there are researches that are coming up. So now we have farmers or techniques that you can use. We have a single node cutting. So you cut individual nodes and then you nurse it. So you nurse it for about 2-3 months and then you move it to the permanent food. There is this assumption that, or farmers are saying, some of the people who have practiced it are saying that those ones tuber faster than that of the ones that you use more cuttings or more nodes for the propagation. Yes, even though I haven't confirmed that one yet, but maybe as a research institution, we embark on it in the future.
Okay, yes. All right. So now let's look at let's say people there's the assumption that cassava is a low maintenance venture. You don't have to invest so much into it, especially after planting. You wait for it to get ready and then you harvest. What are some of the considerations one should make? I know there will definitely be some things that has to be done.
Yeah, so like it is not a low maintenance
Maintenance.
crop like
Mm-hmm.
people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when you allow weeds to overtake your crop or your fruit, there is competition. The plant is looking for nutrient to grow. The weeds are also picking the small nutrient that are there. So this competition result to yield loss. And in literature, they will tell you that weed proliferation can reduce yield to about 30% or
30%.
even 20%. So if your weeds are overtaking your farm, which means your yield is likely to come down. So if you don't manage your weeds well on the farm, like I mentioned earlier, in your very first 4 months of growth, you have to manage your weed well so that the weeds will not overtake. And then from the fifth month going, the crop canopy will now come. Like this one is about 5 months old. So you see the canopy has already shaded and we have cleared. So with this can maintain the farm for the next 4 months, which is about 8 to getting to the 10th
To
month,
the
and by
10th
then
month.
we can begin harvesting.
Harvesting.
With this, you will not need to introduce any labor.
Okay.
Yes,
All
so
right.
the notion of a low maintenance
Maintenance.
farm, it depends, but it is not true
Sure.
because
Okay.
you need to work on it very well at your first 4 or 5 months
5 months. Okay.
before the subsequent month. Even with that, you have to go through to pick certain weeds from it. Yes.
All right. Okay. So now let's look at the cassava sticks. You mentioned earlier that there was a time where farmers don't even get
There
the stick.
wasn't a time, even now.
It is still happening.
Now,
Okay. Farmers are struggling to get a cassava stick. However, you realize that others still have and it's in abundance and then it's wither.
sure.
So how long can a cassava stick stay without being planted? And how do we ensure that it stays in good condition as we wait for planting season?
Yeah, so ideally, farmers usually harvest the cassava at the beginning of the cropping season. But you can also keep the stakes by digging the ground and then putting the stakes in the soil and then just covering it. And then keeping it at a place which is well shaded because direct sunlight drains the water from the plant and therefore reducing the, should I say, shelf life.
So can I keep it if it's sunlight, then can I keep it in the open space and just sprinkle water on it? Okay.
It is a brain now farmer. So you better get a well shaded environment.
Okay.
Just dig a place that you can get enough soil for the lower part, I mean the bottom. Then you do it that way. With that you can at least extend your stakes or your planting material shelf life. Yes.
All right. So now,
But another thing is that if you really want to, you know that in the next 2 months is when I need it, you can wait. Then when you are about to start, you then go in for your sticks and come and plant. And then with those who may not have enough time, can also do the nodal cuttings. So when you do the nodal cuttings and nurse it, so by 1 month it will be up. So when you are ready, you move it directly to the field.
right.
So that's another approach the farmer can adopt.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good one. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that every part of the cassava is useful.
Yes.
Yes, one way or the other. So let's look at the recycling bit of it. We realize that after harvesting, there will be some people might not even know the use of some parts because they know it's the stick and then the tuber.
Yeah, so we use the leaves for stew, for soup, and etc. So the leaves, I mean the tender ones. These the softer ones that comes from these particular ones. Yes, these ones can be used for stew. I think probably in your SHS you might have consumed some.
We didn't even know. Okay.
It is very good, and then it is also used as animal feed. And after the cassava have been harvested from the fruit and then peeled, so the peels can also be grounded or milled and used for fish feed, poultry feed, other livestock feed.
Okay.
So you can incorporate the leaves together with the tuber for animal feed.
feed.
I think International Livestock Research Center in Nigeria is embarking on those projects,
Wow.
and they are using it for the fish industry in Nigeria and other livestock in Nigeria.
Yeah, looking
So we
out.
can also focus or center on that, and then we commercialize that
That's a
aspect
good
in
one.
Ghana. Because there was issue of meat shortage in Ghana,
Exactly.
which our poultry farmers, if we invest well in the cassava, we can also have an alternative for that as well.
Okay, all right. So now let's look at some of the challenges that cassava farmers in our parts of the world face.
Yeah, so our biggest challenge has to do with our rainfall patterns. Number two, it has to do with access to quality planting materials. And number three, nowadays, even getting labor is another wahala.
Yeah.
If you don't have money for equipment or sophisticated machines to operate like tractors, riggers, harrowers, and weeders, you may end up bringing in laborers. And those laborers, it's not easy to get them nowadays. Laborers are not easy to come by. And then another aspect has to do with, like I mentioned, quality planting materials. Because you are not always on the field to get what you want. You may request for a specific variety, and then they bring you different one. So those are some of the challenges that farmers are facing recently. But if you want authentic and trusted source, I think you can come to University of Cape Coast Department of Crop Science, and they can get you the best and quality planting materials for cassava, and you can partner with them for good cassava production. Yes.
Okay. So do you have any concluding words for individuals who might be home and have no jobs? People who might be thinking of venturing into cassava but have no idea on how to go about it.
Exactly. So I would say that we, the youth that are preaching graduate unemployment, I am a student and I'm trying to do something on my own.
Exactly.
We can partner with one another. Maybe somebody has the money but doesn't know how to start something. You have the technical know-how, another person have the marketing aspect. So we can team up and start something on our own. And then government cannot employ all of us. And with the systems that are in place, they cannot absorb all of us into the system. So we must help ourselves by also venturing into agriculture. Growing up, we have been psyched that agriculture is a punishment. So whenever a child commits an offense in school, they give him cutlass and hoe to go and weed, which means they are telling the child that whenever you weed or you hoe, you are being punished. So agriculture is a punishment. And number two is agriculture have been removed from our curriculum in the basic level. So now we don't have agriculture in the basic level. So the child's interest is no more there. And then at the university, we are trying to do both theory and practicals, but the practical aspect should be more focused on, because whenever you complete, you need to practice whatever you were taught. If you don't have a good foundation, you cannot do whatever you want to do. So I'm encouraging the youth that let's partner with one another and then start something. If we focus on only in the agricultural sector, not necessarily going to the farm, you can invest your money there. You can be an investor in the farm. You can also pick part of the value chain, especially when you pick cassava. We have the productionists, those who grow it. You have people who go and buy it. You have the peelers and millers, those who develop machines. So it's a long chain. You can select one aspect of that chain and focus on. And I tell you, you will never regret choosing agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you too. As we've just heard, cassava has moved from a staple food to an industrial crop. As such, there are so many angles for individuals who are interested in venturing into agriculture to consider. My name is Nana Ismambasam, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have. Do stay tuned on Agri-Connect for more educational content.